If you've ever dreamed of living in the French countryside, you probably imagined the summer version. Golden sunsets, alfresco eating, undisturbed countryside, that peaceful feeling you don't get anywhere else. But when winter arrives, things change. The days get shorter, the damp settles in, and you suddenly start to see how well your house was actually renovated. So today, I want to talk to you about the cold reality, literally, and what winter reveals about rural French homes. This isn't about scaring you, it's about making sure you know what you're buying so the countryside feels just as magical in January as it does in July. So let's take a look. Now, one of the first things people notice is that isolation feels different in winter. In summer, it feels like freedom, space, quiet, birdsong, nobody in sight. But in winter, the days are shorter, the rain's heavier, the nights are longer, and suddenly the silence feels very different. And you quickly learn something important. Human warmth and being a warm human are not the same thing. A friendly village baker can brighten your morning, but they can't stop you shivering in the house if it isn't insulated properly. Winter is where the reality appears. Not a bad reality, just a different one. Another thing to understand is how older homes behave. Most rural houses in France are older stone properties. They're charming, full of character, and absolutely brilliant for keeping cool in summer. But in winter, they can be a bit of a bugger to heat, to be honest, especially if their insulation hasn't been updated. The good news is that stone houses respond incredibly well to proper insulation, roofs, walls, shutters, all of it. But you need to know what's been done and what hasn't. And that leads to something many buyers discover the hard way. Renovation doesn't always mean winter comfort. Some homes have been properly renovated, insulation, double glazing, new heating systems, the important bits. Others have had, let's say, aesthetic makeovers. And some of the homes have the gorgeous Instagram French living look, the classic summer Jeep style. But none of that tells you how well they behave in January. It looks wonderful on photos, but doesn't heat the house. And with the thick stone walls, you also have to remember that they take 3 to 4 days of continuous heating to warm up properly. Okay, admittedly after that, they will stay warm for very little. But if you're coming for just a 1 week winter break, you're going to spend half your time heating the house up rather than just enjoying it. So what does poor insulation actually feel like? Stone walls, as I said, take ages to warm up. Great once they're hot, very slow before they get there. Roof insulation varies enormously. That picture-perfect house with its beamed ceilings in the bedrooms might seem great for summer rentals, but it usually means there's hardly any insulation. The actual beams themselves are usually a maximum of 20 centimetres thick. So if you've got like 10, 15 centimetres showing, well, you can guess the width of the insulation. The old single glazed windows can be charming, especially with the actual warped original glazing. But on a heat efficiency side, they're far from perfect. And just to be clear, rural France isn't the minus 40 winters of parts of North America. It's not brutally cold. It's just cold, drizzly and damp, and generally a bit disheartening if the house hasn't been insulated properly. That's the cold reality. Not dramatic, just practical. Another part of the cold reality is how daily life slows down. Distances feel different when it's 3 degrees outside. A long driveway is charming until you don't see anyone, including the postman. Rural life is beautiful, but quieter in winter. Everything takes a bit more planning. Getting tradespeople out, winter shopping, social life, deliveries, even simple errands. And this is why the house itself needs to put its weight in winter. But here's the part people don't talk about enough. Once you understand the cold reality, you get to enjoy the warm reality. A properly insulated rural home is one of the most comfortable places you can live. Log fires, cosy evenings, clear frosty mornings, calm, quiet days that generally feel good for the soul, and communities that look out for one another. And like the French say, après la pluie vient le beau temps. After the rain comes the good weather. It's not about avoiding isolated homes, it's about choosing the right one, ones that work in real life, not just in the photos. So here are the questions you should really ask when visiting properties for sale. What's the heating system and how old is it? What insulation has been done? Roof, windows, walls, even rough answers help. Can you imagine yourselves living in it in winter? Not the summer dream, the January version. And would the access still be easy when it's wet, muddy, or even frozen? And can you picture your weekly routine here in January? If you can picture it, you can live it happily. If you're looking in Normandy, Brittany, the Pays de Loire, or Nouvelle-Aquitaine, and you want a straightforward advice about choosing a rural home that works all year round, feel free to get in touch. My email address is on the top of the screen here. More videos coming soon. And as always, I'm Dan Newton, the French estate agent. À bientôt.